You're a SaaS founder, you've built something solid, but growth still feels harder than it should. Most SaaS companies don't fail because of bad tech. They fail because they've never become a must-have to the right customer. This podcast is here to change that. I'm Ton Dobbe, and this is the Remarkable SaaS Podcast. Every week I talk to founders in the trenches, facing friction, making bold moves, and building companies that last. We dig into real choices around focus, positioning, customer pool, team alignment, the things that separate forgettable software from the ones that people can't live without. No hype, no hacks. Just honest conversations to help you build something that people would miss if it was gone. If your SaaS should be indispensable but isn't yet, this is your podcast. Let's get into it. The guest of our podcast this week is Chad Gaydos, CEO of Procurify.
What drew me wasn't procurement per se. It was really what was going on in this last category of the office of the CFO. I felt like it hadn't been written yet.
This is Chad. We dig into the question he asked that most operators skip, and what changed at Procurify in 12 months. You'll hear what his first 90 days uncovered, why he repositioned the company instead of optimizing what he inherited, and what 30 years across SAP, Skillsoft, Talkdesk and Total Expert taught him about the difference between growth and growth at all cost. The conversation reveals what most new CEOs miss when they start with the wrong number. Well, hi Chad. Thank you for making the time available today and being the guest on the podcast.
Hi, Ton. It's great to be here. Great to meet you and spend time talking.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be fun because procurement is a part of software that's dear to my heart, and people that know me know why. So, we're going to talk about the company that you currently run as a CEO, Procurify. But before we do that, you have got a long history, entrepreneurial history as well. What drives you? What gives you energy as an entrepreneur?
I love building things. I love scaling things. I love people. And so it's a combination really of, that journey in my career of working in different environments and getting satisfaction of seeing something through to the end. Mm-hmm. But building and scaling gives me a lot of energy. I love seeing that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was expecting from the companies that you work for. There was no startups there. It was typically the scaling part that's sort of a red thread through your career, going all the way back to the 90s at SAP. What I've listed here is SAP, 18 and a half years. Mm-hmm. And I got Skillsoft, I got Talkdesk, who you scaled from 40 to 300 million. Skillsoft was about 500 million private equity led company, Total Expert, and then since last year, January, Procurify. That's a pretty impressive history and career there. When you decided to kind of make the switch from your previous venture with Total Expert, what drove you to go to Procurify?
Well, I was taking the step for my next career into the CEO position. And honestly, what drew me wasn't procurement per se. It helped that I had that background, but it was really what was going on in this last category of the office of the CFO. I felt like it hadn't been written yet. And so if you look at the finance stack over the last decade, so many layers have gotten modernized, ERP, close, FP&A, all these different areas, but procurement was still largely the same, for the last 15 years. So from the outside looking in, I was intrigued. They came to me and positioned the CEO opportunity to scale the company. And I loved the platform and I saw the potential, but I also saw my skills aligning to what they really needed in terms of trying to take the company with a tremendous product and put it into position to succeed and grow.
Where was the company on its journey back then? Because I saw there was a Series C just before that.
Right, right. Yeah. So Series C was raised, I came in December of
Yeah.
24. Series C was, I believe, August of 23, was about a
Okay.
50 million raise on that. And so, yeah, definitely in the growth phase. And so when I found them, it was a conversation around what type of CEO are you looking for? Right? Are you looking
Yeah.
for the scale and specialty? Mine happen to be on the go-to-market side. I've done a lot on running different size of businesses and different domains and things like that. But it was really trying to find that match, that fit for what they were looking for and what I was looking for.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, with private equity, and I mean, they can go different directions. This was about growth, right?
Was about growth and scale, but not
Yeah.
growth at all cost.
Yeah.
It really took, having the right balance, from a CEO lens, to make sure that we're making the right decisions.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you started like end of 2024, beginning of 2025. Then you start as a CEO, you do your first 90 days. What did you see then that you say, hey, they've missed this, and this is the opportunity that we have to get preparing for? Because I mean, coming in from an outsider, you always see things that they don't see from the inside.
Right. Yeah, I think fresh eyes can help.
Oh
Right.
yeah,
And so my coming in, I was really interested to inspect the data, to look at where they focused, what size ICP are they going after, what product is selling, what are customers saying back, how are they aligned internally on a go-to-market side, what does the channels look like? So what I really decided to do, my mental model up front, was kind of apply a layer, a framework to assess the company's potential and the likelihood of success with focus and prioritization. So I very quickly determined that, wow, this is an amazing platform, but we're way down in the S&B, right? We need to refocus the North Star. And it's really a mid-market platform, right? It's focused on indirect procurement. And it's a spend management platform. It has a card solution, an expense solution, an AP solution, bill pay. So it's not just procurement, but that's the core of it. But I
yeah,
said, okay, let's figure out where to play and how to win.
yeah, exactly. Now, this is an interesting thing, this when the positioning or the history has always been in the SMB space, and you have to kind of step one market up. That's inspiring there. Yeah, I mean, what you're saying here, the potential was in focus. I mean, I wrote my book, The Remarkable Effect. Trait number 7 is remarkable software companies focus on the essence. And a lot of companies think they focus, but at the end, they're so far off. Where do you believe that's because I mean, people internally would have said, yes, we're focused. We know where we are targeting and where we're not targeting and so on. Where was the focus sort of suboptimal?
Uh, I think saying yes to everything, including product enhancements, new
Yeah,
capabilities, international, sorts of solutions. And so I think companies often struggle in the very beginning as they're being founded and growing and going after everything. But you get to a certain stage where those decisions are super critical, right? Because
exactly.
the compounding effect, the ripple effect of hiring somebody that you're not going to satisfy is very expensive. And so I think coming in, I really tried to focus on getting as much insight to the product capabilities, the platform, where we should be, where's the natural fit,
Yeah,
and then how to address what I would call the human side of that as well, right? With people and process, right? How are we actually executing? Once we know the North Star, our mid-market, which we defined as 100 employees to 2,000, right? We feel like that is our sweet spot. Our platform will handle that really well. All right, how do we really focus the roadmap, the R&D organization on how to satisfy that supremely? How do we
mhm,
focus the team? on how to execute our sales motion and what are things that we need to do that we're not doing right now.
Yeah. Has that started with, well, I mean, how did you stop the saying yes? Has that got to do with, for example, defining much more clearly who you're for and who you're not for? Like the redefinition of the ICP, possibly?
Yeah, I do think it starts with that. It was interesting when I came in, there's all the like there's a checklist of things that you have to really look at. People talk about TAM, right? Oh, let's go after. I love a big TAM. But what's most important to me is the use case in the TAM. And so when you really examine like how you're going after a particular TAM, do you have the use case? Can you satisfy that? I like to say across the company, I say it on town halls and my one-on-ones, we're here to solve problems. That's ultimately what software does.
Let me make a small interruption here. Chad just shared a question he asked that most growth stage CEOs skip entirely. Before you ask how big the market is, ask whether your product genuinely fits the use case inside it. Most operators chase the TAM number, total addressable market, but Chad treats this TAM as meaningless until you know which use case you can actually win. That single reframe turned a stalled SMB motion into a focused mid-market platform and reset what every customer was worth. This is what remarkable software companies do. They master the art of curiosity, they acknowledge they cannot please everyone, and they offer something valuable and desirable. Want to master these traits as well? Simply read my book. I've made the electronic version available for free. Just visit theremarkableeffect.com to grab your copy, and inspiration will spark within 10 minutes. Back to the interview. Yeah.
But even as software employees, how do we think creatively about solving a problem? How do we actually communicate? Like, I think the best thing that you can do in terms of internal is setting that North Star, providing the vision and the transparency. You get the trust, but you also tell them the why, right? Why we're doing this, why we're taking this approach. So that's the more internal, side of that setup, that mental model to get
Yeah.
everybody aligned. And that was my job to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is so core. It's chapter 1, 2, and 3 of my book at the end. It's that's how it starts, because the moment you got that ill-defined, I mean, then everything, yeah, I mean, you can say yes to everything because it always fits. But the moment you got to get a really, really core on, okay, what is the problem that we are solving in what particular context, which is where you have to know your customers for. Yeah, then you can. I mean, you already mentioned the word earlier on. Position the company in a different way. Have you touched on the positioning of the company since?
Yeah. So when we think about the positioning of the company, one of the things that we did up front was look at marketing and trying to get more awareness and how we're telling the story out there. And so it was funny when I was looking at the company, I actually was drawn to the name Procurify. I remember telling the board, it's very verby, right? And if you can make Procurify into a verb for our customers,
Yeah,
boy, this will really be a success. So Procurify became a little bit of a tagline in the first year, and we had some marketing campaigns around that. But I truly believe it because it's a platform and a solution that can radically help, finance and procurement professionals. And so we wanted to dive into that a bit. We wanted to tell that story, and we did that in our first year.
yeah, exactly. What had happened?
Well, we got great feedback. We also started to identify that right ICP that we talked about. So when we started to get bigger clients, we started to get more exposure. We already had great ratings. You could go to G2 or
Yeah,
Capterra right now. We're really highly rated in that. But at the same time, yeah, where to play, what was an important part of, our ethos. And we started to get super positive responses. I remember one client that was on a competitor of ours, Coupa. I'll just tell you the name Coupa. They were giving Coupa 2.5 times what they ended up giving us. And they had made comments, the CFO had made a comment to me about, my team really likes your platform, and I'm a bit surprised because your price point's much lower. But the story around the solving the problem with this use case, indirect procurement, and really aligning their employees around an experience that gets approvals out quicker and satisfies what they're trying to do with spend visibility and controls matter to them. Ultimately, they came to us as a very happy customer. So that's an example of
Yeah.
how the market, reacted to our message and being able to satisfy that customer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the moment you start hitting the nerves of those customers and yeah, talking about things that they know are that there's friction there, and then you have a conversation. And if you can then solve it in a way that exceeds their expectations, I mean, the rest is history then. And you already mentioned the word story a couple of times. I like how story is getting a part of the whole like, yeah, communication to the market. If you now look back 18 months almost, um, what has been a decision that has been fundamental to where you see the company's traction right now, the traction difference?
I I I would categorize it overall change management, and there's really two areas that were big, right? Number one, right people in the right seats. From the
Yeah,
executive side was really key to bring in that focus, that level of detail, that domain expertise. We hired an amazing, CPTO
I saw that.
that fit for us, and so being able to make changes to get that right leadership structure in place was absolutely key. I think the other thing that was key was creating a culture around how the next phase of Procurify is going to work and how it benefits them and us to really create a special outcome, right? And so what I mean by that is whenever I walk into a company, I don't have culture in my pocket. I can't hand it out like candy. It's really established up front by the core values from the top, not just
Yeah,
me, but the leadership.
yeah,
And so one of the things that I wanted to be was a culture of collaboration, a culture of innovation, a culture of trust, a culture of performance, right? Winning, celebrating winning and each
mhm,
other. And so when I think over the last 18 months, we've done a really good job of that. Like taking what was a kind of different version of Procurify and then moving it into this scale and growth phase that requires different things.
yeah,
And I think it's been a phenomenal reaction internally. Change can be tough, but at the same time, when you actually sit down, take the time to explain with transparency what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we're doing it, you tend to get more buy-in.
yeah. That's also where trust comes in, exactly. Because
Right.
people, I mean, they've been with the company for years. They see the change. There's new money coming in. There's new management coming in.
Right.
The previous CEO became the chief strategy, right?
Yeah, chief strategy officer. So the founders were there for a transition period, but he
Yeah,
transitioned to help with my transition and then departed after about 6 months.
yeah,
So the founders that were here, departed after that. But we were very aligned in making sure the employees understood why the changes were happening. And the interesting thing to that, Ton, was that the more success breeds success and it breeds belief.
yeah,
And
exactly.
so we hit our numbers every quarter last year.
Yeah,
While we're working on the product and working on our motion and things like that, that helps, right? When you
yeah,
can actually back it up with results, that helps.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is always a helpful thing because otherwise it's just another idea, and people have to you get people that are insecure, and that's not good. So in that whole change management, which obviously is always a lot, what has been the toughest decision that you've taken that could go two ways? Is there one that actually turned out really, really well, but was really tough?
Well, when I first came into the company, we did do a reduction in force, a small one, but it was needed at the time in order for us to kind of get alignment on what we were trying to do, take our strategy to a plan, and then start executing on the results. That is always tough to do when you're dealing with changes in organizational
True.
operating plans and that affect real people. But
Yeah.
I'm proud to say that our headcount now greatly exceeds what I started with. We
Uh-huh.
reinvested in our business after a record year and had more employees than, like I said, we started with. And one of the things that often gets difficult when you do that is, answering, well, why this person or why that department or, that's a typical, change management leadership
Yeah.
moment. But I am proud, we always handled everything with empathy.
Yeah.
Um, we follow data, right? You have to follow data, and when you're making decisions like that, you use your gut as well. But that was the toughest thing, I think, in the first year.
Yeah. Always. I mean, it brings back memories from from my time at Unit 4 as well. So now you've prepared the organization for the future. As you said, I mean, one of the competitors is Coupa, but I mean, Coupa is not the only one. There's plenty more in this
There's
space.
plenty. Yeah.
How do you go about kind of expanding differentiation of the product? What are the things that you're currently that you change possibly in order to do that?
Well, I feel you and I, as colleagues and being around procurement for so many years, I really feel like this is a special moment in SaaS because of the introduction of AI.
Yeah, exactly.
And there has been just amazing speculation in the market over the last, year, especially the last 6 months, the SaaS apocalypse and things like that. But I really feel, and I feel firmly in our vision, that it's actually going to be a tailwind for many SaaS companies that get it right. So when you think about using AI and agentic with SaaS, that has got to be and will be part of our solution over the next several years. So the way that we have set up the company is, really focused on, going from what I would consider an AI procurement company where we're doing all the things across the shipping and, production areas of intake and AP and all that. But we've now evolved into agentic procurement, really taking shape, right?
Hmm.
Agents taking action, not just to resolve, but review policies, guide decisions. And then eventually, as we start to get into, next year in 27 and beyond, it's autonomous procurement, where we're taking intake to pay run by agents on behalf of finance and compounding many data decisions and loops that the procurement platform is built for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, funny enough, I write a daily email, and every Tuesday and Thursday I write about a particular topic. And this month was about the 2026 reset in software as a service.
Right.
Um, so what you're saying here makes total sense. But it is. I mean, a lot of people think that AI and agentic is about like what goes into the product, but at the end, it's also redefining how a business is run. You know, I mean, I've been talking to companies that are doing the same things these days with a handful of people that normally would be done through a large company. And I mean, if you look, for example, how it's shaking the bottom out of how you monetize the business and finance it. Because, I mean, for example, seat pricing that was very common in procurement
Right.
is going to go away.
It
Um,
is.
and that is just one aspect of it, and the commoditization of it, the pricing pressure that you get from there. So many things that are changing. So do you see that shift around AI also taking shape in the size in the rest of the company?
Yes, for us, as I said earlier, we're still growing, right?
Yeah,
Our employee headcount. But the interesting thing is when I came into the company, I saw the wave of AI and the potential to help us internally build beautiful software and ship it faster.
yeah,
And so we started to, on our town halls and our different meetings, introduce AI tools and ways that we could work in a way, but also with great context to not scare the employees. Because the design was never to reduce employee count, it was to get more efficient, more effective, and ultimately better at our jobs at that, again, building beautiful software
yeah,
and shipping it to clients. So there's this internal perspective where 1 year later, Tom, we're out of sight. Our R&D team is using it completely in many different tools, and they're amazed by it. Our sales team, our marketing team, our finance team, our HR team, everybody has a different kind of use case with AI that is helping us. So
yeah,
we're making decisions faster. Now, for the customer, we're also creating those agentic solutions. So
yeah.
it's actually two sides of this. And but it is an interesting moment in time.
Oh yeah.
Um, One thing that I heard this week that I'll share, I don't know if you caught, Jeff Bezos had an interview on CNBC,
No,
and
didn't
he
see that.
he he talked about the effect of AI on software engineers. And the analogy he gave is, it was thought that maybe there's this resistance, it would be replacing jobs. He said, no, it's going to elevate jobs. Think if you're a
Yeah,
software engineer and you had a shovel creating the foundation of your house,
yeah,
it's like giving you a bulldozer. You
yeah,
now are elevated to help move quicker, but also make decisions around that. So anyway, I was pleased to hear him say that because I feel the same way. I feel
yeah,
like it's there to help make the job better, and at the end of the day, it's also going to be delivered to end customers, and that experience is going to help them
yeah,
with all sorts of value that they get from the platform.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've had various interviews. 2 weeks ago, actually, there was this CEO of a company called Swan from Israel, and he was talking about it in an interesting way because a lot of people think about AI at the end is about automation. And he said, yes, we automate with it, but the most important thing we do with it is actually amplify what makes our organization and people unique. Because that is
Right,
really the opportunity, because that's about real value. And
right,
a lot of people forget that. I mean, if I look back at the 8 or 9 years that I've got my podcast right now, the first year was all about augmentation already in 2018. Because I believe that augmentation is yeah where you really get the power of people back. And
right,
I see so many messages on internet and so on LinkedIn. Yeah, we and on websites as well. We automate so you don't have to do the fuzzy work and you can actually focus on what's meaningful. Well, what's meaningful here? You know, and what if we start amplifying what's meaningful? Uh, it's, there's so many things and things to do here. Um, that's that get that going. Let me see. Fun that you talked about the new approach and how things are organized in your organization. How do you deal with alignment of the organization? Because if every department has the tools now to go faster, they can also go faster in different directions. How do you ensure that everybody stays where it needs to go to you get velocity of a business?
right. Well, I think there's really two different aspects of that. There's, in general, creating alignment across leadership and the teams so that we stay aligned. But then there's also, boy, that alignment when it comes to so many tools and AI and how do we actually, control that so that we're not making bad decisions quicker or
True, true.
expanding on that, right? Um, from an alignment organizationally, I am a big believer. Matter of fact, 3 companies ago, I started using a simple methodology that Salesforce started, V2M2. vision, value, method, metric that allows our company every year to come in and create alignment to the yearly goals. And it's refreshed every single year. We make sure our vision is still the same. We define the core values, but then we get into the methods, or basically the areas of the business that would be sales and marketing and product and operations. And we define those metrics. And that is actually reviewed on all of our town halls. So that
Yeah.
alignment keeps everybody focused on the most important things that is defined by the leadership team at the beginning of the year for
Yeah.
that year.
Yeah.
As it relates to tools, though, I think this one is something that I'm seeing recently, just in terms of our technique and approach, is really a committee, our CFO, our CPTO, and leading it with our C-suite, making sure the governance around how we're using these things, right, come together. And so the
Yeah.
alignment there isn't just, oh, we've got six different, heads of department, everybody, it's free form. No, let's be thoughtful. What tools, how are we using it? How do we make sure that, we're aligned in our data and our discovery of the data and how we bring it together? Um, because standards are important.
Yeah, exactly. Now, they're talking about the data because procurement was typically always about, more transactions, about getting stuff done, indirect procurement, across the whole company at the end. Has data become a bigger part of the solution right now for your customers?
Yeah. Yes.
'Cause I saw you released a product around the data, around insight.
Right. Spin Insights, our product was released about a year ago on that. Yeah, the interesting thing is if you're our typical buyer is a CFO or a controller or a VP of finance, right? And in order
Yeah.
for you to get visibility across total spend and what that commitment is, it's really important, right? And so using AI powered tools to bring it together by location, by person, by department, um, approval times, the things that matter, around that. One customer told me, I love seeing the rejected purchase, or how much should we reject, in a particular period on that. So the control and the insight comes with tools like that.
Yeah. People mindlessly saying yes, 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 yes on Friday
Right,
evening.
right, right,
Exactly. That's the insight, and that is about value of people at the end, and the value for the company as well. Because in these type of scenarios and the things that you normally don't see because it's so much, yeah, that's where you find real pockets of money.
right.
16 months or 18 months in, and yeah, you're a person that is about scaling, based on your history as well. What is the obstacle that you've overcome with Procurify? Uh, there's now a way that help with the scaling, and that you're most proud of.
I think it is from a people perspective, making sure that we get alignment at the executive side. We get the right
Yeah,
people in those seats, and then we're making decisions and being decisive. One of the worst things is the democracy of decision that leads to paralysis of analysis. Yeah. And so, there is the famous golfer, Nick Faldo. He says, it's not how good your good shots are in golf, it's how good your bad shots are, eliminating the mistakes or keeping them, small. I really like that saying and that philosophy. And so
that's true.
from a leadership perspective, I think that, we have put together an amazing team, and it is leaders that are empathetic, but they're serious. They're serious about, building an amazing business and satisfying and fulfilling commitments to our customers. That requires hard decisions, and it requires being decisive.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what I look back at fondly. I think we've done a really good job of that.
Yeah, at the end, it's always about that, the decisions you take, because that is and the speed by which you take them, and indeed the accuracy of that. And I like that analogy as well. It's not about the right decisions, it's about how well, how good the bad decisions were, how
Right.
far they were really off.
You're going to
Yeah,
make mistakes, right?
of
Let's just
course.
admit it. There's going to be mistakes. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah,
Okay. Let's try to
yeah,
limit those.
yeah, exactly. Um, Talking about these decisions, you talked about metrics, your V2, M2 framework. What metrics have you said goodbye to? What are the metrics that have become more important over the last 18 months? Is, for example, ARR per employee one that you're currently measuring more than before?
Well, I think, look, ARR is, kind of a universal gold standard of health, right? ARR, NRR, GRR, those are important. I also think that when you're transforming a company, you've got to double click into the layers that ultimately roll up. So, for
Yeah,
example, average deal size per
yeah,
client. One of the things that we did when I came into the company was we looked at, well, what is our average deal size for net new clients? What are we charging? And what I determined after doing a study, our CRO led, was we really were giving value away indiscriminately, right? It
yeah,
was priced even lower than some of the SMB, tools that didn't have the platform capabilities that we had. And so we did a very fair kind of reset on that. And a year later, we have more than doubled our average price per deal on net new clients. Now, there's two aspects of that. One is the actual, in that segment, even a lower SMB segment, we're still doubling it, but we're also getting bigger clients that are validating that pricing is working. So
yeah,
I think of it like that. There's so many metrics across every area, but I want the ones that are going to help us stay durable, right? And strategic with way that customers will ultimately pay for value. They ultimately will, right? And
yeah,
if, like you said before, price per seat goes away and it's all tokens and usage at some point, yeah, that's probably the destiny that we're heading towards. But they're going to pay for value.
yeah,
And so let's make sure that, we're aligned to that. So that's an example.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the durability of the company is the most important part at the end, and it starts with is your revenue compounding in the right way? You used the word compounding already a couple of times, and it starts with average deal size because everybody can give away software.
Yes,
Uh, it's easy to sell something that's cheaper than something else, but I really take my hat off for people that say, "Hey, we sell something, customers are happily paying what we charge, even if it's twice the amount of what
right,
competitors are charging for, because it's a no-brainer to them." And
right,
that's where, yeah, I mean that's where you understand your customer. That's where you get really honed in on the context where your solution is the only logical option. So good, congratulations. Has cycles also shrunk?
they're in certain segments they have,
Okay.
but in the larger segments with bigger clients, they
Yeah.
tend to be a little more extended in timeline. Some will RFP, for example.
Yeah.
So, but we knew that, going in, right? And so in
Exactly.
some segments, yeah, the execution is better. We're a little more precise, but in other segments, the bigger segments, they extend slightly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. I mean, if you go from the SMB to the mid-market, it's a logical thing. There's more
Right.
committee. There's larger companies. It has more impact across the business. So yeah, looking at the time right now, two more questions. One,
Okay.
from your entire career, what has been a big lesson that you've learned that you still benefit from today? Maybe something from the SAP timeline.
I think the most impactful lesson, for me, um, I think being very thoughtful about how you run a business, how you deal with people, how you communicate, how you approach a problem to solve is the most important thing, right? There's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. So over my career, I've had the benefit of just so many experiences, so many mentors. And so the impression that was always left on me was, hey, look, be demanding, but be fair,
Yeah,
right?
true.
Be fair with employees, be fair with customers, be fair with suppliers or vendors. Yeah, that's what stood out, and that served me well, and it also aligns to my integrity where I can sleep at night.
I think that's the word, integrity. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
always come back to people, even if the decision was something that someone else didn't like, if it's fair and if it's the right thing to do, yeah, I mean, then it's the circumstance. But if it's the other way around, man, it will hunt you at some point in time. And the last question then, what would be a do and what would be a don't that you'd like to give as advice to people listening to this that aspire a career like yours or that want to start running a successful software business?
I think a do is uh, stick to your model, your mental model or your system. And it can look different for different people, but mine is around a framework of checklists. It involves data, it involves process, it involves people, but that hasn't failed me, right?
Mhm.
So that system, that mental model, lean in and figure that out. Study the way that others work, right? And that what other successful leaders have done or CEOs done, like the service that you provide here, Tom. I think it's great because I think trial and error can be an awesome thing, but you've got to have conviction, right? And kind of your approach to running a business, scaling a business, and getting the results that you want. I think a
True.
don't is don't fall prey to what we talked about before, this indecisive approach in making decisions. Don't be influenced by opinions, be educated by them, their points of
Exactly.
view, right? I love getting a committee to get opinions and listen to the room, but at the same time, you've got to make hard decisions. And so
Yeah,
I just think don't be indecisive. Trust your
exactly.
instincts.
Yeah, that education part is really important for, everybody has opinions. It's your judgment that counts here. And make that, yeah, get better at it. Exactly. Perfect. Thank you very much for this, for sharing this. So many things to talk about, and likely people have questions about particular things that we talked about as well. So where can people go to find out more about Procurify or to say hi to you?
Well, thank you, Tom. Yes, it's procurify.com, or you can find us on LinkedIn, or they could send me an email directly, chad.gaydos@procurify.com, and I'll either help them directly or get them the right help that they need on their interest.
Thank you very much. Um, I keep following you with interest.
Thank you, Tom. It was a pleasure meeting you, and I enjoyed the conversation.
Likewise. And this wraps up my conversation with Chad Gaydos, CEO of Procurify. If you got value from this episode, please share it with other SaaS founders who need to hear this as well. And if you got 10 seconds, a quick rating or review on Apple Podcasts will help more people to find these conversations. Thank you for listening to the Remarkable SaaS podcast. If you want more insights like this, subscribe to my daily email, Espresso with Ton. It's a 2-minute shot of clarity for SaaS founders who want to create pull, not push. You can sign up, along with getting my book, at valueinspiration.com. See you in the next episode.